equally committed somewhere. Somebody equally committed to God somewhere may spot you whilst they are doing their ministry. And then things can begin to happen. So the scriptures we just read, I've read 1 Corinthians 7. It says that if you're single, you devote yourself fully to the Lord. Now let's look at 1 Timothy 5, verse 2. It was Paul writing to St. Timothy. It says, treat younger men as brothers. Then it says, older women as mothers and younger women as sisters with absolute purity. Younger women as sisters with absolute purity. 2 Timothy 2. Verse 22. 2:22. It says, flee the evil desires of youth and pursue righteousness, faith, love, and peace, along with those who call on the Lord out of a pure heart. Amen. Amen. So that is what I want to say concerning singlehood. Cut your brand. That's what I'm saying. Cut your brand. Make an impact. Be involved in something. Contribute to Sunday school. Be a Sunday school, a youth worker. Drive the church minibus. Play instruments. Be involved in a choir. Do media. Don't ask for money when you play guitar. No. Do some. Cut your brand at that time. Service. Commitment. Go to the mission house. Go and clean the place. Offer to go and hoover once a month. Or cut the lawn. Do something. Get yourself committed. Pastor, do you have some notes? Apostle, do you have something you want me to do? Offer to do it. Do that and expect no reward for it. And establish yourself in terms of service. And the Lord will locate you in your assignment. And actually also in the process, find somebody who's equally burdened about the things of God and line you up whilst you do your service. And then things will begin to happen. Okay, so that's all I want to say about singleness. Let me move to the second topic I want to pick on, which is a choice. A choice of a spouse. A choice of a spouse. Two scriptures. One is Proverbs 18:22. Proverbs 18, verse 22. It says that he who finds a wife finds what is good and receives favor from the Lord. He who finds a wife finds a good thing and obtains favor from the Lord. ESV, obtains favor from the Lord. My emphasis here is find. 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 So, when it comes to choosing a spouse, there's work to be done. It's called finding. Another scripture that explains that is Genesis 24, the whole chapter. Genesis 24, when Abraham sends his servant to go look for a wife for his son Isaac. It's find, it's a search, And I want to say here under this topic that when it comes to choice of a spouse, it involves your heart and your head. Both must be at work. If your heart alone operates, you'll be very fine, but you soon realize you made yourself a fool. If your head operates only, you'll be very fine. You tick all the boxes, but you soon realize you're dealing with a wizard or a witch. So if you want to really spot and get and secure a good wife and live with a person for 70, 80 years, your heart must work and your head must work. What do I mean by your heart? It means that you must be led by the Spirit of God inside of you. You must be led by the Spirit, And when that happens, it means that you're talking about prayer, fasting, discerning of spirit, word of knowledge, those kind of things. Something must be working, wisdom, counsel, all those things must be working to you. And then the head bit is analysis, thinking, rationalizing, thinking. Because you cannot marry everybody. You can marry only one person. So your decision to choose that person must be very rational. I've said in many events that when God gives us wisdom, two big things we can use that wisdom for. Number one is to choose Jesus as our Lord and personal Savior. If you do that, you're a very wise person. Anybody who makes Jesus as Lord and Savior is a very wise. You've used the wisdom God has given you to make Jesus your Lord. You're a very wise person. You've done well, The second one that wisdom does for you is to choose a spouse. So normally when young people, my friends, my sons tell me that I found a wife, I found somebody I want to marry. Normally I ask them, is that all you could get? They say yes. I said fine. Because your choice is a measure of the wisdom you have. That wife you have shows how wise you are. That lady you're in a relationship with, if you're a man, shows how wise you are. If you're a lady on the platform, the gentleman you are working with now, you want to marry, it's a measure of your wisdom. With all the wisdom God has given, that's all you could choose. Yeah. So if that is the case, that means it's not a very light matter. It's not case, Sarah. In Africa, they call something CCCC and it's not sampling. Oh, out of 7 boys are talking to me, I'm speaking to 3 girls. Hey, you want a wife? You say you are speaking. No. You want to be led to a person. To a person. I don't mind you failing at one attempt, but you must be led. It must not be trial and error. It's not sampling. It's leadings. So one of the biggest investments you can make in the choice process is prayer. And maybe you think I'm an apostle, that's why I'm saying this way. But that's what you also say yourself, is prayer. And if you follow that advice, one day you'll be saying the same thing. It's prayer. The Bible says in all things by prayer and supplication. In all things. Don't ever say things like, some things are not prayer. Some things you can face it. Hey, everything's prayer. Everything's prayer. Because prayer would give you direct access to God. And the Bible says that no man knows the mind of a person except the spirit of that person. And no man knows the mind of God except the spirit of God. So if you want to go past a person's physical being and get to know who they are, it's only prayer that can shortcut the process. When an angel appeared to Mary, the mother of Jesus, announcing the forthcoming birth of Jesus, the angel just dropped this information, which nobody knew. It was not yet on social media, And then it says that your relative, Elizabeth, she's pregnant. She's 6 months pregnant. She's next 6 months. My point is, angel, why are you leaking somebody's information? So when you dive into the spirit, when you get yourself committed to prayer and to fasting, and you engage the Holy Ghost, you have access to information. You have access to information. One of our dear friends preparing to marry, and she had told herself that she didn't want to have a gentleman who had a child already. That was her personal preference. She's found this nice gentleman. The lady's in one country, the gentleman's in another country. And then he asks the gentleman, do you have a child? He says, no, wallahi, I don't have any child. I swear by anything, I don't have anybody. That kind of stuff. So that's fine. And lady's praying. And then she receives a word in the spirit that the guy has a child. He asks the guy says no. Then this lady asks the gentleman's brother, his younger brother, who is in the same country with her, that, your brother has asked me to give some money to his son. So bring the son to me, and so I can give the money to him. And the younger brother of the gentleman doesn't even know what's going on. So he brings the guy's son, young boy, to this lady. And you see the boy's face, you see this is the man himself, photocopy. Gives the money, does everything, and then calls the guy and says the relationship is over. I'm not interested. You've lied to me. People encourage the advice that she says no, she won't marry. Because if at this stage I'm being told this and I'm not sure what's going to happen after we get married. I thought she would have changed her mind, forgiven that guy, but she won't. I'm raising it because she only got to know, not because anybody told her. It was because she was engaged in prayer. She's engaged in prayer. So if you want to make a good choice, you must invest in spirituality. You must really dive into prayer and make time to fast, make time to ask God questions. Devote your mind. Don't make the choice in your mind, ask God to confirm it for you. That when your mind is made up, be blank. Let God guide you in the process. Let him use circumstances to confirm his will for your life. Open to his view, his mind, his thoughts on these things. So prayer is very, very, very key. Very, very key. But as I've said, it requires not only your heart, it requires your head also. Now, when it comes to your head, it means that you are going to have to tick some boxes. You're going to have to tick some boxes, you know. So normally in counseling, we tell people to evaluate people along their totality, spirit, soul, and body. You know, evaluate the person, spirit, soul, and body before the marriage, and then within the marriage. Who is this person? Spiritually, who are they? What is their faith? What do they believe in? What doctrines do they believe in? What church do they attend? Are they Christians? Are they born again? Do they share the same denomination? Do they have the same views on spiritual things? Don't joke with those things. Who are their friends? Who are the people who influence their thinking? You know, because if you marry them, it will not be easy to shift their spirituality. So you need to be very clear who they are spiritually before you commit to them. You know, then you also look at their soul, their temperament, the sanguine, the choleric, the melancholics, you know, all these things that we know about temperaments, you know, the phlegmatics. How are they? Is a person easygoing? Is he friendly, sociable? Is he quiet? Is he reserved? You know, and do you like the person? You don't need to be the same in terms of temperament, but do you really like the person? I've been told that people of the same temperament don't normally do well together in marriage. It means that if you're really outgoing, very sanguine, your best partner is not really a sanguine person. I've heard it, you know, as well how true it is. I don't know, you know. But you need to evaluate all these things. The person doesn't necessarily need to be like you, but you should be able to like them for who they are. They can be very quiet, but you just love them. They can be very loud, but you just like them. You may not be loud, but you just like the loud person. Some of them are very chatty. You just like their chatting, though you are very quiet and reserved, you know. So whatever it is, you need to evaluate all these things, you know, in them. Then also you need to look not only at their spirit or their soul, but also look at their body. Because human beings are 3 in 1, spirit, soul, and body. It means that you're looking at their height. Are they short? Are they tall? Are they fair-skinned, dark-skinned? Is their nose like mine? Or is it pointed, you know, like a pencil? Do you like that? Don't get married and start saying things like, look at his nose. You chose that nose. You say you like it. Because if you don't like it, somebody likes it. The one I have, somebody really loves it. Yeah. So don't look down even on yourself and make it look like, oh, you know, I'm slim, I've got weight and all that. Somebody likes you as you are. So if somebody else doesn't like, don't look down on yourself. No. Somebody likes who you are. So that is what is called the body of the person, their physical appearance, their physical features, their natural endowments, who they are, the way they speak, the way they walk, you know, and all that stuff, you know, if they've got skills, how those things come out, you know, if they have assets in terms of wealth, you know, all these things I think you evaluate about the, is he employed or not employed? What is their potential? There's some people who are very, very gifted and talented, but now you don't see it. And if you want to see everything about them before you commit to them, you may make a mistake. You may even ignore them. But sometimes in your conversation, you realize that this lady has potential. This lady has got grace. This gentleman has got potential. He's probably coming from a poor background. That's why he's struggling at this level. But he's committed to something. And together we can team up and achieve something. Then you can help him or help this lady to get to her destiny. You know, so all those things you evaluate, you know, in your mind, you think, you cross-check. Sometimes you have to check with friends, bounce it off with mature people, parents, elderly people, and get views. And whilst you are doing that, you are forming your opinion. So you see how dangerous it is to settle on a person just by some one-night contacts. Or you went to a party, and then that's fine, or you're getting married. No, it's very risky. All these things require time and then process, you know. So the other scripture I gave you, apart from the first Proverbs 18:22, was Genesis 24, where Abraham sends a servant to go get a wife for Isaac. And the servant arrives in this foreign country and prays. He makes a prayer. He makes a prayer. If it was 21st century Pentecost, I'll say he'll be speaking in tongues. He doesn't know what is going to happen. He makes a prayer. Then he asks his understanding that God, if you can give me a woman to meet the expectation of my master, I'll be grateful. I'm only asking, let it be that that woman that I'm looking for will be somebody who is really kind, very committed, who will do more than I expected to do for me. You know, and Bible says, as soon as he had finished prayer, you know, Rebecca shows up. Rebecca offers the servant water and then goes further to fetch water for all the camels. If you're a young lady, I'm saying that you must cut your brown when you're single. If you're a lazy person, forget a marriage. Rebecca is establishing her brand right the way. Serviceable, committed, kind, generous, you know. And then Bible says the man is shocked. The servant is just shocked because it's happening. Is working to plan. It is working, you know. And then he's just shocked. And then he asks, who are you? Where are you from? Which home? He says, my name is Rebecca. My father is Bethuel. My brother is Laban. You know, the man has all these names in his head already because he's come to the city to look for that family. He says, my God, God has brought me to a family I'm actually coming into. And then initially gives gifts of rings and all that to the girl. 21st century girl, you'd say, hey, let's elope and go to Seychelles or Maldives or Cancun and take me to your master's son quickly. Let's do some and send pictures of my parents that are married, you know. Because she's seen gold, she's seen rings, she's got it, you know. Rebecca runs and goes to her family and tell the parents, this is what has happened when I was going to fetch water. This guy has come. If I even told the guy that we've got space in our home, come and stay there. She's committing her parents. Come and stay there. We'll go grass to feed your camels and everything. Come, let's go. You know, the servant comes home and comes to meet the parents. And then they go through a proper process. Proper process. You know. And then they settle down on the relationship. And in the process, the servant gives the family gold and clothing and stuff and gives Rebecca more gold and silver. So it appears that the one he gave at the well side was actually just a token. You know, when they came home, he gave some more gold and silver to Rebecca and then to the family. And then after Rebecca agreed to go with the servant, they went to Isaac. Now, the interesting thing is that I don't think the servant came with all the gold of his master. The rest of the gold was sitting at home. You know, so now Rebecca is actually going to inherit the real gold. The real gold. These were tokens. So you see the value. I'll be looking at process, maybe, I'm not sure, probably tomorrow, you know, the value of respecting processes when it comes to covenanting into relationship. So choice is where I am now. I'm saying that prayer must be in. A lot of investment in prayer must go in there. Your head and your heart must go in, you know, in there. You must evaluate people totally, spirit, soul, and body. And if I may add, you must prepare personally. Prepare yourself personally. Most of the time, we are always commenting on other people. Oh, this person has this weakness. This person. Most of the time, look at yourself also. Look at yourself. Evaluate. Do a DIY. Check on yourself. Sometimes ask your friends. Do I talk too much? Am I snobbish? Do I get easily angered? You know, am I easy to live with? How's life with me? You know, and all that. And watch the feedback you get from people. You don't necessarily need to be perfect before you marry, no. But some things are, some things you can handle. You can deal with it. Yeah, you can deal with it. You can deal with it. You know, so that is something I want you to pick on the choice of a spouse. You know, do a total check on the person. Keep your heart and your head involved in the process, and let the Lord guide you. Invest a lot of prayer into it. I'll pick on this final bit, and maybe I'll stop for questions. Now I'm going to talk about relationship. There's a word going around now called situationship. I'm sure you've heard those things. Yeah. Situationship, entanglement. You know, these are all words, you know, people use in popular culture and all that. But I want to talk about relationship, you know. And with this, I'm referring to the process up until your marriage. You know, what happens up until you get fully married. God willing, tomorrow we'll look at the process of marriage itself, how the process works out, and then look at how you can keep the marriage itself going. So typically for most relationships, it starts off with what is called an acquaintance, a hello, hi, an acquaintance. You've met together, both of you are students in Padubici. Is that Padubici? Padubici?
Yeah, you're right.
Okay.
Padubice.
Okay, Padubice. Yeah, okay. Okay. Yeah. Or Prague or Praha, whichever way you pronounce it.
Prague. Yeah.
So you've become, you've met. That's acquaintance. Sometimes you even meet in a neutral place. The time people are talking and all they can say is, oh, who are you? So I'm this. So who are you? I'm this. So, oh, what should you attend? So I tell the goes, oh, really? Okay. Where were you? So I was in Kumasi, PIWC. Do you know Apostle Professor Peter Che? Then, though two of you have not really met before, because of a common name, it can start a conversation. You can start a conversation, and all that. Sometimes I want to say something, So acquaintance is just bumping into people, getting to know people. It could be third party mentioning it or something, but you just get to know yourself. So most relationships start like that. Either you've known them from ages past, or you've just come to know them, and it starts the relationship. And that one develops into something called a friendship. Now, friendship is when both of you have common interests, because you have lots of friends, but your interest does not overlap all your friends. If you've observed, you don't discuss everything with every friend. Some friends, when you meet, you talk Pensa, you talk church, you talk Pentecost, you talk Bible, you talk evangelism. Others, you talk politics with them. Some you discuss business, entrepreneurship issues, some purely family issues. Some of them you even just want to help them. You just want to be in their life, to be there to help them, not really to engage in any other issue. Yeah, But when you say somebody's a friend, it means you have a common interest with a person. So relationships normally move from acquaintance and it develops into friendship. And I'm saying by friendship, you are now expanding your interest. The Venn diagram is overlapping on a number of things. Because as you are talking as friends, you're realizing that certain interests are overlapping. So, oh, wow, oh, you also like football, eh? Oh, you also like this, eh? Oh, you also follow this, eh? Then the talking, it just carries on like that, in there. Then with time, now these things don't have set times. There is no fixed time for this. Sometimes it could be as quick as a day. Sometimes that one stage can be months, but it moves gradually into a phase you call dating. Now, dating is when you're actually excluding that person out of the lot of friends you have for some kind of one-on-one. So when you're at that phase, nobody knows when it starts, but by that stage, you realize that you are getting more exclusive with a person. Most times you want to go out to eat together, you want to go out to watch a movie together, you want to go out to church together. If you go to church together, you're in the choir, you want to wait till she's finished or he's finished before you can go home. You may all be in a meeting, you are finished your part, you can go, but because the other person is not finished, you want to wait, And interestingly, around this stage, it can spark of a lot of rumor. Those of you are married will bear witness to this. It can spark a lot of, if I post saying, hey, I wish that guy is going out with this person, then they find the people saying, it's not true. It's not true. People are saying, okay, it's not true. To be honest, it could be that it's not true. But if they can give you space for a few months, it will be true. At the time you're saying it's not true, but if they give it time, it will be true because something is happening. And none of you would have spoken to each other that I want this. But at the back of your mind, at the back of your heart, both of you are reading each other's minds. When he said, can you meet me at McDonald's so that we can talk this afternoon? And you stop everything to go. What made you go? What made you go? Something is going on inside of you. You enjoy the conversation. That's why you're going. So something's really happening. And every step you take and the other person also takes, you are heading towards a decision. So don't make, sometimes people say that somebody disappointed me. It's true. Sometimes it's a disappointment. Sometimes too, it's that stage, it's not definite. Everybody's trying to size up things. So he's enjoying the conversation so he can firm up his mind. He can be certain that his mind. Sometimes a phone call thing, they're constantly phoning. Those times when we used to use phone cards, scratch cards, you dial and you phone a number. At times you can count the number of cards you've used to make international calls. And you call and the credits will run, you buy a new call, let's call constantly, you just enjoy the talking, enjoy the talking. Hey, my brother, my sister, Now, that phase I'm talking about ends when the man, listen carefully, the male, you may think I'm being cultural, but the male makes a definite proposal to the female. And it's of the type of, will you marry me? Whichever way it is packaged. It could be that, look, I love you. I have observed you for a long time. I've checked you, blah, blah, blah. I'm convinced that you're somebody I can marry, spend my life with. And I just want to ask you if you would want to marry me or whatever, Whichever way the person can package it and let you have it, they must do it. But it must involve words like the ones I've said. Because sometimes people can bounce back and say, or withdraw and say, I didn't say that. I didn't say that. Sometimes a woman can say, he said something's changed his mouth. He say, I didn't say that. Sometimes you find people can assume, especially when you hear the person is going on to marry. It's like, he told me he was going to marry me. He never said that. So don't assume the fact that you're going out for meals is equal to a relationship. That phase is a phase of your life, and the person is trying to firm up his mind. So honestly, if you know you're not really interested, or you've done a few times of these outings, whatever, and it's not it, don't overpush it. Don't drive it to a point that each of you will now think that the most natural consequence of your time together is a proposal. And if you're going to back off at this stage, also be very wise in backing off, because if you're not careful, you leave a very bad image of yourself, bad impression. It can follow you for a very long time. At this stage, there's no covenant, there's no law, there's no legalities. Heaven would not hold it against you. You've not divorced anybody. But also don't be disrespectful, don't be rude. And sometimes when people leave this stage of their relationship, they spread bad news. Because in the course of the conversation, each of you is opening up your lives to each other gradually. So if you're not careful, the other person has information about you, and if it's not going to work, then they tell other people that it's not Christian at all. You got to know it as privileged information. So if you're not interested, don't use it against the person. Don't tell other people, because somebody else may be interested in that lady or that gentleman. Don't use it against them. If you just mutually agree that honestly we felt it will work, but it's coming to a point I feel that's not going to work. Then you decide. And it doesn't always need to be acrimonious, bitter. No. Sometimes it could be parents raising serious objections to a relationship. Sometimes it could be circumstances. Sometimes it could be your plans for your future. You're intending to go do some PhD that will take another 5 years. The other person thinks that I want to marry by next year. And your view is that I need 5 years to finish this thing. And because you are not on the same page on the issue, it gets to a point, if you're not prepared to bargain, then you say, look, let's leave it here. And then you end it. And it's mutual. It's not like you really hate the person. No. So this phase is a decision phase. It can drag into months. It could be 6 months, it could be whatever. But if it drags too long, you are wasting your time, because if it doesn't work, you have to start again with somebody. So if you let it drag for a very long time, you're wasting your own time. You only want to arrive at a decision, So when a decision is made, and then the lady comes back saying, yes, this period is over. And sometimes the ladies will say things like, give me like a week to go and pray and bring an answer, and be respected. Because the prayer she's going to do would convince her spirit that she wants to stay with you. Or sometimes she's even going to do some background checks on you, or probably going to speak to parents and senior people to get views before she commits, in there. So if this thing happens, do so. My personal view is that if you are in a situation like this period, don't wait till the proposal comes. Do your background checks whilst we are still talking. Keep doing your background checks in the head. Talk to some pastor. Pastor Kofi's been taking me out lately. I don't know what's on his mind. Do you think he's a good guy? Talk to parents. There's a gentleman from Cape Coast. He's been really talking to me, blah, blah, blah. Get some, input, and then firm up your mind and your prayer. So that if it's not going to work out very early, it's not going to work. If to work, then you commit more time until you come to some kind of decision. So this is another phase of the relationship. Now, when a proposal is given by the man, and the woman comes back saying, yes, I'm prepared to stay, I want to get on with it, it starts a very new phase of the relation called courtship. And this phase also because now two of you are an item. You can't deny rumors. When people say we hear or we think you are whatever, you can now accept it. Yes, it's true. Now this phase continues until the day you stand before God at the altar and say, yes, I do. All that period from when you said yes to when you come to the altar to do, yes, I do, is a courtship phase. That means that you have agreed to get married and now you're now planning to marry. For some people, it takes 6 months. Others, it takes 1 year, some 2 years. Because sometimes after the decision has been made now they need to structure themselves. Look, now we've agreed to get married. Let me get on with this, my MBA I want to finish. Let me get on with this, my law thing. Let me get on with this. And then both of you agree a time frame. If we want to marry, then let's set the date for about 2 years' time. Let's set it for about a year's time. Then they all start working. That period is a courtship phase. Within that period, you are speaking to parents. You are speaking to church pastors. You are trying to get a form and work out the date when you want to get married. Most pastors will need enough notice to put this in a diary, So if you want to marry, say June, September next year, by now, the apostle should be aware. So they can really confirm a date because he's planning his diary for next year. So if you don't let him know now, the date you have planned, I want to do it on my birthday, I want to do it on some special day. That day he's away in some meeting in Africa. It's not going to happen. So the earlier you let him know, the better. He can agree dates with you, and then things can start working towards that. Sometimes you may need to work on accommodation. You may need to invite people to come over. You will need visas. It takes time. So this is a month, and they all happen within this time frame. You may need time for counseling, proper counseling. Sometimes 12 weeks of sessions, going with ministers and all that. It is very, very important. So all this preparation happens just before the marriage, a courtship phase that you need to go through. And don't say things like, I've been reading married books. You must read the books, but you need counseling. You need counseling. People must speak into your life and help you and pray with you as you make decisions to settle down married. Now, this phase ends, as I've said, the day you stand before the altar and say, yes, I do. And then that's it. You are now married. From that phase, marriage begins. At that point, marriage begins. So that's how typically the tradition works. For some, it's as quick. All the things I've said in this section could be as quick as 6 months. They meet a girl, they do all the dating, courtship, everything. Before long, they're getting married. For some, it could be 2 years, some even 4 years. The risk about it being prolonged is that if it drags and there is no end point, you can be subject to temptation. You're a human being. If there's no end point, and you're always going for meals, you're always, you want to travel to the other city, go and see him on the weekend, he comes to your place to see you, sometimes you want to go and take some food to him and all that. I mean, you are putting yourself in danger zone. So that is why we always tell young people that don't start relationships too early. What do you need when you're in sixth form, 18-year-old? What do you want a relationship for? Because you can't sustain it. But if you've come to a certain stage, you're in university, you are studying, you are aiming to finish and all that other stuff, then you can now plan your future. Settle into one, plan what you're going to do, give yourself some time frame and work towards it. So that is how the trajectory of the relationship would look like. We've got 30 minutes to close. I've been speaking about marriage and family life, talking about the importance of singlehood and how you must brand yourself as a single person, invest a lot in prayer, and be disciplined in that state. I've spoken about choice of a spouse, how you need to use your head, your heart and your head in prayer, and cut your own image at this state. Then also spoken about how relationships work generally, right from acquaintance through friendship to dating and courting, and then to the marriage itself. We'll take some questions and have some discussions, and then God willing, tomorrow if there's time, we would look at the process of marriage and then also look at things that make a marriage really work. If there's time, we'll probably look at issues handling conflicts within relationships as well. So I'll pause at this stage, Apostle, with your permission, and then we'll get contributions and comments and then some discussions, and then after I'll hand over back to Apostle. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Apostle. So, if there is any question, you can handle it. So the floor is open. If you have any question, you can use the icon and then Apostle will pick you from his end. Or you can also write it in the chat box.
Well, I think Carl has raised his hands.
Okay, Carl.
Right. Apostle, thank you very much. And God bless you. I joined in quite late, but I think I heard something about being, I think it was about marriage and how you don't spend too much on say, the ceremony itself. And so how do you get your better half on your side when it comes to planning the marriage ceremony? Because usually they say that it's for the women, so if they are they have to have their way. There are some things that sometimes on your end as a man you think that, oh, we didn't get one here, but then the women would want it. So how do you win them over when it comes to those that part? Thank you.
Okay. Thanks, Carl. I haven't yet addressed the issue of the marriage process and the preparations for marriage. It's likely we'll look at that tomorrow. But generally, if love is working and communication is working, you would be able to overcome that challenge. So I would always start from the point of prayer. When you're praying with somebody, when you are praying on common issues, your heart is together. In fact, one thing that binds the church together is prayer. We are from different places. It's prayer that gels us together with one accord. Acts chapter 2, one accord on the day of Pentecost. So prayer is what keeps us together. So if you're preparing to marry, one of the things you'll be doing a lot, it will be to be praying together. Not necessarily praying in the same room, locking yourself in the same place. If you're not married, don't attempt to do those things. But wherever you are, connect on common topics and pray. And when you do that, I think there'll be understanding and commonality. And where you disagree, try and explain yourself. Try and explain or buy time, negotiate things, and see what the Lord would do. But I'm sure tomorrow when we speak on preparations for marriage, maybe some of these things will come up in our session, God willing.
Right. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Solo.
Yes, Papa, God bless you so much.
Thank you.
I want to ask that in the moment of courtship, how would you advise in terms of commitment with finances? Is the man supposed to commit financially? Is the woman supposed to commit financially? Other ways, should the woman once a while support the man with choices like, say, typically in Ghana, washing of clothes and cooking and all those things? I would advise that in those moments the woman should go and cook for the man, or the man should bear some financial burdens on the woman's side.
Okay, Solo, thanks for the question. I think David has posted a question about prayer. If somebody doesn't pray, what happens and all that. If you're already married and you didn't pray before you got married, may the Lord have mercy upon you. Now you are married, pray more. Pray more. God will show more things to you. Yeah, but you can't divorce at this stage, so pray more. But if you're not yet married, from today, make prayer a big subject in your life. Yeah, and let God guide you in the process. Now back to Solo's question about commitments during relationships. What do you do? You see, sometimes people break up and then you find that they are literally bitter. When you listen to them, they say things like, I sponsored him, I gave him money, I paid for his this, I did that, and all that. It should not be. It should not be. You should not commit money or things to a person on the basis of the relationship, because it is not yet a covenant. So if it doesn't be, you don't come complaining that you did this and they didn't do. I bought land with, I've set up a company with her in our name, we bought property in our name and all that other stuff. If it doesn't work out, it didn't work out. So it should not be. don't cook for a person because he's your fiancé or something like that, because if it doesn't work out, you don't come complaining that I did all the cooking, you've used me, you sacrificed me, my time I should have been studying, I used that to cook for you and all. It should not be. It should not be. So if you're single, be single. The relationship itself requires overlaps because you need to talk. You can't just get married to someone you don't know. So definitely you need to talk. At times you need to go out for a meal. At times you need to go watch a movie. Sometimes you have to even attend the other person's event. They're in a choir, they're doing some big event. You need to be there. At times you need to even show up at their family event. One of their sisters is having graduation. You want to be there. That's how the relationship actually works. So it would evolve like that. Now, generally, being a Christian, if out of your own goodness, because you'd have done that to anybody, you want to give anybody 50 euros, and you've given somebody you're in a relationship with 50 euros, don't treat it as some kind of a commitment you're expecting something to be paid back for. So if you're doing good as a good Christian, so that you don't feel betrayed or cheated or disappointed if these things happen. I know young ladies who would cook jollof for their Pensa groups, and guys will come and eat. They'll just announce, put on social media that, look, anybody in the university should join them for a Bible study that evening, and there'll be free jollof at the end of the day, free Ghana jollof. That's what they normally say, or Nigerian jollof, and people will come and all that. If you're doing that, that's fine. That's fine. But don't get yourself into an obligation to want to cook for somebody or finance somebody because of the relationship. If it doesn't work, it can be heartbreaking. If you ever do these things, do them as somebody who's just giving it to anybody you would have done to anybody at all, not necessarily your fiancé. So if you commit yourself to these things, it comes with a risk. It comes with a risk. If you do it as a Christian, not because you need something in return from the person. And don't also do that to I'm looking for the right word, to make the person favorably be disposed towards you. Because sometimes you can shower somebody with money, I'm speaking Ghanaian language now, money, and then the person can feel that, hey, as for you, if they break away from you, they'll lose it. Because the way you are spreading her, though they may not like you, because the way you are spreading her, she wants to stay. It's risky. It's risky. So don't get into commitments. Do anything as a normal Christian, but don't get into commitment. I'll pay half of your rent for you. I would fund your fees. I would commit to this. I'll sponsor your holidays when you go to New York. No, don't do that. Don't do that. If it doesn't work out the way you want, it'll be very risky. And as I've said, all these things we've been speaking about today, up until the point of marriage, is not a covenant. There is no legal contract. There's not even a spiritual contract on the issue. So at any point in time, anybody can walk off. Heaven will not be upset with them. They can walk off. But if you get married, whoever the person is, if you come to the altar and say, I do, hands are laid upon you, declared man and wife, no matter what the person is, you must stay. That's why I told you that we don't have any divorce manual. You must stay with the person. So please, I would advise that don't get into overcommitting when you're in a single stage. Marco, I think you want to say something.
Yeah, Papa, thank you for such a powerful word. From your speech, I got to maybe understand. You got married. You had your partner home before getting married. Maybe you can correct me if I'm wrong, but most of the guys here, maybe you were someone who graduated with your bachelor degree home. You were coming here for a master's degree. You had somebody you started this relationship already with. Mine is not a question, but how, but from your experience, maybe you can share with us, how do we sustain some of these things from your experience?
I don't get you, honestly. What are you saying?
Yeah, the thing is, you are, let's take for instance, a guy from Africa. You had your bachelor degree home, and you have started something with a lady back home, and you've traveled abroad. there's a distance between you. How do you court the person? You've taken us through these stages, from the decision, the relationship, and so on and so forth, until the final, you commit to the marriage. How do you sustain it? How do you build the relationship up? Taking into consideration all that you are required to know about the person that you've told us about.
Okay. I think my understanding is, how do you handle a long distance relationship? Is that right?
Exactly.
Okay. I think that's what I'm trying to understand. Yeah. Long distance relationship come with lots of risk. Some of them unavoidable, some of them avoidable. Unavoidable in the sense that you didn't choose to create a long distance relationship. The relationship started and you've had to travel. So that's one risk you must accept, and how to manage it, and all that. The avoidable ones are that it having been separated, if you don't make an effort to keep the relationship alive, it can disappear. Love can grow. Love can also decline. People's love can grow cold. It's biblical. Yeah. So if you don't keep the relationship aflame, it can decline. Then also, sometimes circumstance can also keep you away from the person for a very long time. You may really be caught up in a situation where you are not going back now. And so if the door doesn't open for her to join, especially if you don't put in the effort, or that you put in the effort but it doesn't open for you to come, the relationship can be at risk. There are cases where people have had to sacrifice relationships. They have to give up. They love the person, but they just can't do anything. After all that they've done, it wasn't possible for the person to come. It wasn't possible for the person here to also go. So the whole thing just collapses, and then in all the pain, they have to move on in life. These are realities. It does happen, But sometimes you have to also have to work very hard. If you can do extra jobs, save some money, if you can arrange to go sort out the relationship in terms of registration and all that, and be able to help the person to come over to join you here, as a married person, so be it. But it's not that easy and that simple, So I think you must keep an eye on that and work hard and pray. You'll be better off if the person is a godly person and fears God and prays with you as well, so that they can also stay faithful. As you are working hard, they can also stay faithful. Because it gets to a point, the other person also feel that, look, I've done everything I can. I'm aging. I can't see my way clear. And then suddenly there's pressure from family, and they may have to break up the relationship and then move on. Now, when those things happen, don't be too hard on yourself. Nobody knows the mind of God. Yeah. Nobody knows the mind of God. You never know what God has in store for you. So though you've done all these good things you should do, don't be too hard on yourself. If after everything you've done, it doesn't work out the way you want it, move on. Let God guide you. You never know what God is going to do going forward in the future. Amaka, I hope you're okay.
Thank you, Papa.
Thank you. Let me see what questions are on the screen and the chat room. Please, should one do when a member express interest but asked to keep the relationship or intention at the blind side of other members or leaders? Okay, what should one do when somebody wants a relationship to be kept quiet? And then the other one is, how do you have any advice for starting a relationship long distance? Okay, so long distance relationship, to be honest, like I said, I've commented on it already. So if you haven't started, be careful before you commit. If you already started, then work at it so that it doesn't dry out, it doesn't become cold and boring. Do the best you can, keep the relationship going, keep communication going, keep assuring each other that it will get better. You see yourselves very soon, things will happen, you're going to come back home, or the person's going to join you. Just keep assuring, and let's see what the Lord would do. Do the best that you can. And the issue about, can you keep a relationship discreet? Yes, relationships will be great if they are kept discreet. It's good for your own self. You don't overflow the relationship. But in another sense, for accountability and transparency, you may need to get certain key people to be aware that you're in a relationship. Because sometimes if you don't really do that, somebody may be praying you into their life. They'll be binding anybody who comes your way. Meanwhile, you're actually in a relationship. Yeah. So if you're in a relationship and it's certain, people who matter in your life, a pastor, a presiding elder, very key people, family members, should be aware that you're actually in a relationship with this person you plan to marry in the next year or two. And gradually the information filters around to people, and these people spare you. Otherwise, somebody may be praying for you, binding you, claiming you seriously in their prayers, and it may not be the case. So, and there's a balance about being discreet. The other side is sometimes people also overshow the relationship. Every day, Facebook, me and my babe, me and my babe, me and myself, me and my babe. They're always doing she's not your wife. He's not your, no. So please stop this babe thing. Manage yourself wisely until the day you are brought together as man and wife. Let God get the glory from your union, rather than everybody hearing that you're already married even before you get married. Okay, so that's my comment on that one. Okay, I think lots of questions on the chat. Let me see what's there. Is it okay to date multiple at the same time and make your choice later? Since background check is a vital information before marriage, should certain delicate information like family sickness, visa status, some family history be kept secret from the other? Okay. Yeah, multiple dating. That is very risky. But obviously, because you would want to be making up your mind, you can be speaking to people, but you need to be very, very wise about it. I think that at any point in time, you must be speaking to one person. In there, because the clarity about whether it is this person or not will be coming to your spirit if you are praying, and engaging one or two times will make you know more about them. Checking one or two information will make you know about them. But if you travel a long time with somebody and you're actually keeping 2 or 3 people in the same situation, if you're not careful, one day you'll be described as being unfaithful. So don't get too much into this multiple thing. Better to handle one person at a time. And even if it's multiple, it must be a short time when you are really making a decision, not really a long kind of thing. Keeping 3 people into restaurants every day. Today they see you here, tomorrow they see you there, tomorrow you're flying here. You'll be seen as lying, deceiving people. So pray and let God guide you. Most times there'll be one person you want to hear from God. And it won't be how many times you are dating different people before you decide. If the thing is from God, you will know. You pray, you check, and then you will get clarity about the issue. Then also disclose the information. If you meet somebody for the first time and then you tell them, I've carried out 6 abortions, I've murdered 8 people, I have done this, you think the person is going to stay with you? They will disappear. They will just go and not come again. They say, thank you, sir. See you next time. That's it. In there. It's also very dangerous to be married to somebody and after the marriage start telling them that I've carried out 3 abortions. They can go to court and say they've been deceived and they want to file for a divorce. So the issue of information sharing is proportional to the relationship. As a relationship grows, disclosure also grows. So as you get to know yourself, you keep disclosing. That's why I said earlier that if at some point in time the relationship will not work, the little you've received, be careful you don't mishandle it. Don't go and tell people, because they told you on the basis of the conversations both of you are sharing. You are saying something, you're also saying something. So don't use the little they've said and use that against them somewhere else. No. So disclose. By the time the marriage takes place at the altar, every vital information about yourself should be known by the other person. They should be able to accept that they'll marry you without worry or fear or anxiety about all the things they know about you. It will not be fair on them at all to be told certain things after their marriage. Very fair, They need to know who you are, who your parents are, where you come from, whether you are biologically male or biologically female. The world is dangerous. So all those things should come out. Your sickle cell status, your blood group, everything must come. Your name, as is in your passport, and that's actually your actual name. All those things should be very clear to the person. So when they say they are marrying you, they know it is actually you they're marrying. Not that when they've married, say, oh, really sorry, that one, I use that name actually to do something, and it's dangerous. So, but whether you disclose that on the first day you meet the person or not is up to you. It's up to you. I'm saying that the relationship grows, the information must also grow. So disclosure must be gradual till each of you is fully satisfied that you've disclosed enough to each other, and the other person can make their decision based on what you've told them. Amen.
Amen.
What can you do after marriage when you discover that one party was not truthful? You must forgive them. Must forgive them. That's what I can say. Must forgive them. I mean, the extent to which you can go will be maybe legal. As I said, legal is in the sense that they have actually given you some fundamental lies. Some decisions you need to make for the marriage. For example, if you know you are marrying a man, you know that he's a man, and then you marry and discover that he's not a man. That's a deep deception. Yeah. So you can go to the court and say that I want a divorce on the issue. The court can annul it. The church doesn't divorce. So it's court that can annul the relationship, the marriage, that kind of stuff. But some things may be his father has got 2 cars. They told him his father's got 2 cars, and he discovered his father's got actually 1 car. Because of they're upset. We are joking. Forgive them. That's all. Forgive them. Or the person has a child, and they did not disclose it to you before they're married, and then you are married. You need to make a good judgment whether the marriage you've got will be affected by the son or the child they're telling you the person's got. You need to make a judgment because it's deception. They didn't tell you, but you are married now. Are you going to break the marriage because you really did the marriage because you like the person? That's why you vowed to be married to them. Are you going to now break it because of that information? You must make a good decision on that, and that one nobody can really prescribe anything for you. But don't put anybody in that situation, honestly. Yeah. Help them to test them, let them know that, look, you say you love me, I'm fine with that, but I have 1 child, and I know some people may not like it. I wanted you to be aware. The person, either the man or the woman, can say, let me go and think or pray about it, make my mind. In fact, even in counseling, this information must come up so that the minister can help both of you to plan for your life with this other person in the relationship. And so they can really settle and have a good relationship. How long is enough to date before marriage? Hey, Czech Republic, you're asking questions. How long is enough? I'm not sure what you think. Those of you who are married, maybe you can give views. Like I said, when I was presenting, I said that it could be as quick as 6 months, and some it could be as long as 4 years. It's circumstances, that can determine those things. But realistically speaking, it takes about 6 months to build a relationship with somebody, and it takes about 6 months to really prepare for a marriage ceremony. If you're going to do all this traditional marriage and all the weddings and all that, it takes about 6 months to really prepare. So technically speaking, I'm just doing off the head. If you meet somebody today, is it 8th or so of December, you meet somebody today and you start a conversation, the most realistic period you may want to marry is sometime around this time next year. Because if you tell me you're going to marry in March, I'll be afraid, because I would ask you, have you really come to know the person that well? Have you really come to know the person that well? And if you say June, I'll ask you, have you prepared enough? But if you tell me, say October or December, then I know that by around June, you're really convinced who the person is. And then maybe, depending on the jobs you do, the incomes you have, maybe you need 3 to 6 months to really prepare for this relationship. So for the marriage ceremony, that's why you're planning December next year. So that's how it really works. But typically, people will do really 2 years in this kind of preparation. Some will do 4. But if you're going to do 4, be very careful, because 4 works best if you are apart. You're in different places. But if you're seeing yourself every day, you talk every day, get engaged every day, normally the relationship grows quicker and faster. So it gets to a point, if marriage is not in the picture, then it becomes boring. The relationship drags. There's nothing to talk about anymore. Nothing to talk. So you find that you're really wasting your time. So have a realistic timetable for your marriage plans. Okay. Apostle, I think I have exhausted my time, so I'm going to hand over. Oh, Charles, sorry. Let me take that last question from Charles then. I'll hand back to Apostle.
Thank you, sir. Please, my question has to do with a lady I've met. I've monitored her for some time, followed her, and I'm convinced that her Christian life, certain things I'm looking at, so far not seen all though, but the little I've seen, I think I want to know more about her. So I approached her and told her my intention that I want to be her friend, and my ultimate aim is that if God permits, I would want to have her as my wife if everything works for us. So I would want to start friendship with her. But my intention, the main intention, I disclosed it to her, and I want to find out if it's wrong to disclose your intention, like the ultimate thing that you expect from her from the initial stage.
Okay.
Thank you.
Charles, that's a good question. My personal view on that is that you said it too early. You said it too early. It can scare her off, or it can raise all kinds of things in her mind, that kind of stuff. So it's a good idea that your intentions are known, but I thought you should have courted her interest, a friendship, make sure she really likes you. Otherwise, she will interpret everything you do from the point of marriage. And if she's really desperate for marriage, she will accept you and not say anything negative about you or comment on anything. So maybe I felt you could have given her a bit of time to build some friendship with her. You know, when you marry, you come to realize that all these things we're discussing are very important. If you're married and your wife is not your friend, you are in big trouble. Big trouble. It's not just your my lord, I've prepared your food, is ready. The kids, Kofi Mame. No. The person must be your buddy, your friend. You share common things together, you discuss things, she knows you inside out, and that kind of stuff. So, and those things, you build it before the marriage starts. So if there was another opportunity, I would ask you to slow down a bit and get her trust, her confidence, understand her, let her have the freedom to decide whether you are really the type she likes or doesn't like, that kind of stuff. And then gradually, if you feel that it's working well, then you can make your intentions known, and then she can, whether you spoke it or not, right from day one, she would have known that your proximity to her is aimed towards something like this. But give her space to think about it and form her own opinion. Charles. Okay. Apostle, I think I would hand over back to you at this stage. We're almost up to time, so thank you very much. Bless you.
Thank you very much, my brother. This is deep, and we are really blessed, and we thank God for your life. People of God, what are we saying to Apostle Dr. Debrah?
Thank you.
God bless you.
God bless you. God bless
Thank
you
you so much.
So much.
Bless you. God bless you.
For the deep
insights.
Yeah.
Wow.
So, people of God, tomorrow is another day. Let's come in time and let's begin, and then we will have enough time with Apostle. And if God willing, I think God will continue to bless us. I want us to commit ourselves to God once again, that whatever you heard today, God will help you to work with it. Apostle emphasize on prayer. That is the key to open all doors. So I want us to pray once again, committing ourselves before the Lord, that the information that we have received will really